and welcome back to Cultural Geography. As stated before, I will be making video lectures to accompany the chapter in your textbook. The videos will highlight some of the key points in the chapter, but not all of them. It is your job to be responsible for the materials covered in the textbook, as you will be quizzed on this as well. In this video lecture, I will introduce what the demographic transition model is and how it varies over time. So on that note, let's get exploring. So the demographic transition model is based on historical population trends of two demographic characteristics, birth rates and death rates, to suggest that a country's total population growth rate cycles through these stages as that country develops economically. So beginning in the late 1700s, something remarkable happened. Death rates declined. With new technologies in agriculture and production and advancements in health and sanitation, a greater number of people lived through their adolescent years, increasing the average life expectancy and creating a new trajectory for population growth. This sudden change created a shift in understanding the correlation between birth and death rates, which up to that point had been relatively equal, regardless of location. So over the past 300 years, population demographics have continued to evolve as a result of the relationship between the birth and death rates within a country. The observation and documentation of this global phenomena has produced a model, the demographic transition model, which helps explain and make sense of changes in population demographics. Using the demographic transition model, demographers can better understand a country's current population growth based on its placement within one of the 5 stages, and then pass on that data to be used for addressing economic and social policies within a country and across nations. So let's take a look at what the demographic transition model looks like and understand what is occurring at each of these 5 stages. So here is a figure that illustrates the trends occurring in the 5 stages of the demographic transition model. So it's important to note that the original demographic transition model does not include 5 stages, but seems to be warrant a 5th stage due to birth rates below death rates in several more developed countries. Furthermore, the model does not include the impact of migration. Your textbook also uses just a 4-stage demographic transition model and alludes a little bit to the 5th stage. So let's take a look at the figure. So the horizontal axis represents time, while the vertical axis represents death rates on the left and birth rates on the right. So let's dive into stage 1 and what's occurring here. In stage 1, which applied to most of the world before the Industrial Revolution, both birth rates and death rates are very high. As a result, population size remains fairly constant, but can have major swings from events such as wars or pandemics. Historically, high birth rates are attributed to societies that relied heavily on agricultural production or unskilled manual labor, because large families meant a large workforce. A high birth rate is often the response to a high death rate as a country seeks to achieve or maintain replacement levels. Remember, that's a 2.1 for most places. Throughout a deeper analysis of circumstances that led to high death rates, demographers often point to the rate of infant mortality and life expectancy as rubrics for determining a high or low death rate. Infant mortality is high when medicine and maternal care are limited or insufficient, and life expectancy is low when sanitation and public health are not adequate. Social, environmental, and political action all have severe consequences during this stage in regards to population, because the birth rate and the death rate are so fragile. Today, no country are classified within stage 1 of the demographic transition model. So now let's turn to stage 2, is characterized by a rapid decrease in a country's death rate while the birth rate remains high. As such, the total population of a country in stage 2 will rise because births outnumber deaths, not because the birth rate is rising. The decrease in death rate is commonly attributed to significant improvements in overall health, specifically access to pediatric care, which affects the life expectancy of the most risk demographic group, children. But, along with basic health care, an expanded educational system, gender equality, and technological advances in these areas of food production and sanitation have also decreased the death rate. So the transition to stage 2 is still a relatively recent phenomena in human history. Not all the Industrial Revolution did the first countries make the transition from stage 1 to stage 2. However, there are a number of countries that remain in stage 2 of the demographic transition for a variety of social and economic reasons, including much of sub-Saharan Africa, Guatemala, Palestine, Yemen, and Afghanistan, to name a few. So now let's change our focus to stage 3. So in stage 3, death rates are low and birth rates are decreasing, usually as a result of improved economic conditions, an increase in women's status and education, and access to contraception. So the decline in birth rates vary from country to country, as do the time frame in which it is experienced. Some countries go through rapid transition where the birth rates plummet by more than 40%, while others maintain a much more gradual decline. So the rate of decline is dependent upon the economic and social factors at play. The quicker gains are made in areas such as education and gender equality, the fastest birth rates decline. Lower birth rates, combined with low death rates, slow the pace of global population growth of countries in stage 3. Through slow, total population growth will continue until birth rates are lower to or below the replacement level, which is 2.1 for most developed countries. Education has been linked time and time again to delaying women's childbearing years, providing opportunities to women outside the home, and increasing a woman's knowledge about her body and her health, all of which lead to smaller family sizes and ultimately a decrease in birth rate. Additionally, women who pursue advanced education are more likely to plan for smaller families or decide never to give birth. So the combination of a shortened period of childbearing, along with the ability to limit family size, whether by delayed or contraception, together allow the birth rate within a country. So it allows it to lower the birth rate within a country. So countries making the transition to stage 3 all have some relative stability, economic, social, or political. So examples of stage 3 countries are Botswana, Colombia, India, Jamaica, Kenya, Mexico, South Africa, the United Arab Emirates, just to name a few. Now let's switch our emphasis to stage 4. And here, birth rates and death rates are both low, stabilizing total population growth. So the decline in both birth and death rates of most of stage 4 countries have been attributed to a strong economies, highly educated citizens, ample healthcare system, the migration of people from rural communities to cities, and expanding employment opportunities for women. All these factors play out. The total fertility rate decreases until it reaches the replacement level, at which point the country enters stage 5. So it's understood that countries in stage 4 of the demographic transition model have experienced significant economic and social advances, allowing for the reduction of family size in relationship to decades prior. Examples of countries in stage 4 are Argentina, Australia, Canada, China, Brazil, most of Europe, Singapore, South Korea, and the United States. So what happens when birth rates of a country decline to the point where it is lower than death rates? Answer: enter stage 5. Theoretically, in stage 5, the demographic transition model is a country experiencing losses to the overall population as the death rates become higher than the birth rates. So the negative population growth rate is not an immediate effect, however. Based on demographic momentum, in which total population growth increases even while birth rates decline, it will take a generation or two before a negative population growth rate is observed. So in this scenario, it is the economy that is the driving force behind further limits on family size and the use of contraception. Whether persuaded by high cost of raising a family in a city or the enticing opportunities of employment that delay childbearing, birth rates decline well below the replacement level. So examples of countries that are in the stage 5 include Germany, Italy, Japan, and Russia. So that is an overview of the demographic transition model and its 5 stages.